let's allow ourselves to gain a proper perspective about what it means to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yes, we all have the same goal, but do we all have the same path to bring us close? So here we go. We're up to chapter 10. Just saving the sin over here. Let's see. Okay. We should all have the picture on the screen now. Is it coming through? Is it on the screen? Yeah. Okay. Just doing it a little bit differently than we did previously. So, Kirvas Elokim Litov. To come close to Hashem is what's good for me. These are the words that each of us should be focusing on. This is not a matter of a Rav getting up in shul and inspiring and saying, oh, we all need to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and come close and we'll tell stories about it. That doesn't mean you're close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Elazu mitzias hachayim. Very often, as we know in Yiddishkeit, the most tuned in servants of Hashem, the closest people to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, very often are the ones that don't even talk about it. They just go about their daily lives with Hashem. It's how they live. It's not how they talk. Ze'eno inyan sheshayich rak lechag haPesach or lechag haShavuos or lechag haSukkos. This is not something that is what happens to us, that applies when we come to Pesach. We're like, oh, Pesach, what a beautiful Yom Tif. So many opportunities to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So inspiring. Sukkos, we get to sit out in the Sukkah, Shavuos, Matan Torah, to stay up and learn and think of Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkos are important because they are three chagim, they are three holidays that remind us to be inspired about something that's really supposed to exist always. The purpose of Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot is to 3 times a year remind us and inspire us that really this feeling and this connection with Hashem is something that we should be working on constantly. It's life. It's life. This is literally something that applies every moment to a person's life. Shin Samachay, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 60 minutes an hour. Zukol Metzias Adam, Lios Karov Labore V'Davagbo. This is something we need to work on really connecting with. And that is being with the Rabbeinu Shalom, being with Hashem at all times. That when we feel a Yeshua, when we feel a salvation, or we feel a simcha, a joy, we don't view it like Hashem is some Superman that swooped in to come save the day from outer space on top of a skyscraper. Hashem wasn't on top of a skyscraper. Hashem wasn't elsewhere. Hashem was with me anyway. Hashem was with me. I went into a business deal. I went into a meeting. I went into a conversation with somebody that I was nervous about. Hashem was with me all the time. B'chol rega, every moment. Zukol Mitzias Adam, and this is our essence. Bevadai, certainly, certainly to live like this. Tzarech derech b'avaydas Hashem. All right, we're going to need clarity in how to do this. This is not something that we're born with. This might be something we know. But something that we know doesn't mean that it is something that we are. Ulam, however, Od l'fnei is baras adarach lekach, says the Bilvavi. Before we continue going on to try to understand the how to live in such a way, there's something we need to know about ourselves first. Rashis tzarech sheyeh bar la'adam. It first must be crystal clear. Bebirur gomer, with absolute clarity. She'ein bo tzeil shel safek klal. I got no doubt. Mahu tachlis chayav. What I'm out to accomplish. First thing is, we must have no doubt what we're out to accomplish. What are we out to accomplish? What's our goal? Lihios karov v'daruk laborius barach shemo. This is my goal. My goal is to be connected, to cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, b'chol rega v'rega mamish. Literally at every moment. At literal every moment, this is what we are striving for. To be completely attached to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Dveikus pnimi, an internal dveikus, an internal connection, which we don't need to feel bad. Very hard. We don't even know what we are internally. We don't know we don't know what's going on inside of us. Sometimes we're scared to really know. Some people do hisbaidus. Some people do thinking. They go out. It's a wonderful thing to get to know oneself. To get to know oneself and to get one to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Some of us are scared to do this meditation. Being connected with Hashem. What's going to be? What's going to be if I get to know myself a little too much? Kalomar, meaning to say, what's the point? What are we trying to accomplish here? In other words, okay, in the English, we're about 11 lines down in chapter 10 in the English on the screen. Kalomar, meaning to say, before we start on our path of search to clarify what is this path of coming close to Hashem, mukhrach, it must be first what path we're supposed to be on to take. Where's this path leading me? There's a path to take to get to this point of being close to Hashem. But what we don't really know is what's leading us, how to get there. We got to know with absolute clarity the goal. This is the nakuda. This is the idea that each of us need absolute clarity in until we feel in our nefesh, in our spirit, I have no doubt what the ultimate purpose is, going to be. Now, in this paragraph, the Bilvavi has been telling us that there's a essence to life that we don't even notice. There's a beauty that we don't even notice we're in. We have a lot of this. This kirbas alekim li'toiv. I'm confident saying, for all of us learning this together, we all are on this path. We all have an element to it, but many times without us realizing it, and we may never realize it. I'll give you an example. Zelda and I were being Menachem Avel, Mrs. Greenwald, this morning, right? They had the Zoom number to call in, and she was talking about her mother a little bit. And as I'm just speaking as an American guy, she was talking about, and many of you, I'm sure, remember this. I don't, only because of my age, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's not my fault. That's when the Lord decided to put me into the world. But many people here, when they were younger or when their parents were younger, they had somebody shech their chicken for them. They would go to the local butcher and he would salt the liver and they would, and it was a whole process. It was a whole process how to make something kosher and which butcher you went to. This one's more kosher than that one. Okay. So Mrs. Greenwald said that her mother and their family they were very careful about kashrut. They were a Sephardic family. Her mother was originally from Iraq. Very careful about kashrut, and they would have a sheichet shech their chickens, and then they would salt their own chickens and make sure everything was done. Everything was done properly. Do you know how many areas of halacha you need to know in order to do that? And how many areas of halacha we don't have because, I'll speak for myself, because I'm a spoiled American, where you can just walk into the supermarket and get everything mass-produced and get everything ready-made. There are so many beautiful parts of Yiddishkeit that I'm missing out on now, that our parents had, our grandparents had. I shared, after that story, and this is something I've shared multiple times in shul, but Rabbi Heinemann, Zol Zayin Gesund, Rabbi Heinemann Shlita, the Rav of the Aguda in Baltimore, close friend of my father's, Zechron Lebracha, and he's the head of the Star K. So he thinks out of the box. And there's a very interesting halacha that when you shecht an animal, we'll give an example, a cow. You shecht a cow that's in late-term pregnancy. The baby that's inside the cow at the time that you shecht it, at the time that it's slaughtered, is called a ben pakua. And that animal is automatically kosher. If it comes from a kosher animal that you shecht, it's considered like it's shechted with its mother. Okay? So when you shecht the cow, the baby alive is considered shechted. And this happens forever. Its children. You don't, in order to kill this baby, you don't even need a kosher shechita. You can kill it like what are the big meat companies? I don't know, Purdue. Is that a meat or chicken company? I'm not sure. Right? Like a big non-kosher company. It's called a ben pakua. Fascinating halacha. You shech the kosher animal, a live baby inside, once the mother dies, is considered shechted. Its own children are considered shechted. So Rabbi Heinemann came up with a great idea. He said, listen, we got to think long term. We got to think big picture. I'm going to start, he said, a ben pakua farm. We're going to shecht cows in late-term pregnancies where we know the babies can live. We'll take those animals, we'll mate them, we'll build farms of ben pakuas. Their children won't need shechita. They don't need shechita. Their children need shechita. Their children need shechita, until we have a farm of tens of thousands. And at that point, we'll start shechting, and the price of kosher meat will go down because it'll automatically be kosher. No more throwing it out because of holes in the lungs. No more shechita. It'll be the same price as non-kosher meat because it'll be so easy. Ben pakua farms. All right, it'll take place in a decade or so, but it's a good idea. Let's get cracking on this. Rabbi Heinemann had this idea. if I'm getting the story correctly, he went to talk to Rabbi Yashiv. He asked Rabbi Yashiv what he thinks. And Rabbi Yashiv said, in halacha, no problem. But the Torah was given so Klal Yisrael can keep the halachos and learn the halachos. If we start doing this, within one generation, everyone's going to forget the laws of kosher. Kosher meat, shechting an animal. Whoever heard of such a thing? We don't shecht animals anymore. What's shchita? Something they did in the Beis HaMikdash. They slaughtered animals in the Beis HaMikdash. Forget that they slaughtered animals in 2020, 2021. The people, therefore, he said it's not worth it. Because there's a beautiful part of Yiddishkeit is to just observe it, to do it, to perform and fulfill the mitzvahs. And you know what? Baruch Hashem, now listen, we're able to go to the supermarket and buy kosher meat. And we're aware of the process that goes in. But in 2021, in Tafshin Pei Aleph, in this year, how many Jewish kids even know that their grandparents, their grandparents, that's all it was, that their grandparents, koshered their own chickens. But imagine, as an American, imagine living a life like that, living a life where you're involved with having that ability, having the ability to just learn and understand and come close to Hashem in this way. What did they do? Nothing necessarily, but what she was talking about, her mother, I was just fascinated by a Yid, a Jew, just having that as part of their lives. Being close to Hashem, just having that element as part of their life. And we have so much of other areas of halachas and part. The idea is not to run away from it. The idea is to understand how to utilize it in being davuk, in bring close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where it's such a simple thing. This is just how she lived. This, and many of us, Baruch Hashem, I could speak for you. Many of you I know live like this, right? This is why, because this is what we do. This is what Hashem wants. This is what I do. That's already part. That's part of what we're talking about over here. The goal is to do this constantly. That's the goal. Let's keep reading. Let's keep reading in chapter 10. Here we go. If at the moment that a person understands that this is his purpose of kirvas halakim litov, that the best thing for us is to be clinging to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be close at every moment, to have Hashem with me. Here's what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen? What's going to happen is, if you look at the bottom of the screen, while we're trying to figure out how to come close, we're going to start thinking to ourselves, oh, you know something? In order to be close to Hashem, I need to be like Moses. I got to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. What was Moshe Rabbeinu? He was completely separated from worldly matters. Holy guy, holy Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu clung to Hashem at all times. But me? It's a joke. It's a joke. Yeda, you should know. If we ever have a thought like that there's somebody else who's capable of being closer to Hashem than me, if I ever thought that in my life, and I have, and if I'm normal, hopefully, if I'm normal, then other people have too. I've thought of that. It's the Yetzer Hara. It's the evil inclination. Whenever I think there's other people who are capable of being closer to Hashem than me, the Yetzer Hara put that thought into my brain. V'lakach. Why? Because Yetzer Hara wants to pull me away from the truth. And the truth is Hashem. The Yetzer Hara is trying to make it that me and you feel more distant from Hashem, and we're not going to strive for this level. Because we think there are other people that are closer to Hashem than I am. V'lakach, and therefore, he paints coming close to Hashem like it's a black thing, like it's impossible. Only individuals who are above and beyond, those who are separate themselves from the world, those are the holy ones who could be connected to Hashem. But what can I do? A guy like me, a person like me, what can I do? Ulam ba'emes, the truth is, we know from the words of the Rishonim, the great Rav Moshe Chaim Lutzato, not one of the Rishonim, but the great Rav Moshe Chaim Lutzato in the Mesilas Yesharim, he says, Sheyase the Sifra Mesilas Yesharim, he wrote the Mesilas Yesharim, Path of the Just, as we say in English. And he based it on the story and the approach of Rav Pinchas ben Yair, who takes connection to Hashem step by step, level by level. And he tells us, Torah Mevili Dei Zahiros, first just start out educating yourself, starting what is Torah. That leads us to Zahiros, that leads us to trying to be more careful until the highest level is to mamish, be walking with Hashem at all times. You have Ruach HaKodesh, you Tchias HaMesim, Ubesov Sifro, and guess what he writes? You're talking about the highest levels. Somebody who could perform a resurrection. And what does he write at the end? At the end, he writes as follows. Here's the quote. End of Parak Chavav, chapter 26. He says, Va'ata Korinam, and now my beloved reader, Yadata Shakamayni Teda, you and I both know. Asher lo kilisi b'sifri zeh kochuchi achasidus. I'm not writing everything here. V'zeh pashut. It's simple. Ki kol adam lafia umnos asher biyado. Listen to these words. This is huge. Every person, according to their circumstances, v'ha'esek, and their involvement, asher hu isaac, whatever we're involved in. You're involved what you're involved in. I'm involved what I'm involved in. Guess what? You're going to have your path to clinging to Hashem, and I'm going to have my path to clinging to Hashem. And these paths need to be clarified. I have to gain clarity in my path, and you're going to have to gain clarity in your path. How's this going to work? God forbid to think that the way a person in Kolo, who sits and learns Torah the whole day, the way that they're going to come close to Hashem is my path. No. Eino derech hachasidus. If I ever take the path of somebody in a different set of circumstances than me, that is not a kosher path. Eino derech hachasidus. That is the wrong path. If somebody is out in the business world doing something else, if I take my set of circumstances and try to cling to Hashem the way that in you, with your set of circumstances, try to cling to Hashem, I will never cling to Hashem. It's not possible. And similarly, kol shara protim. So many minute points that involve a person in this world. Every situation that a person experience, that a person is involved in this world, each person, no matter what it is fit to have a path of coming close to Hashem. I'm born into this family, with those parents, with those siblings, with this, I'm fit to come close to Hashem. Next set, I have these friends as I'm getting older. I have this lack of friends. I have this. I go to this high school. I go to this college. I go to this work. I get this job. I get fired from the job. There's a path to cling to Hashem in every experience. And that's all we're made of. Lo lefi shachasidus mishtana, not because the goal changed. It's not a different level of being a chassid. There's no different goal. That didn't change. We said everybody's the same. We all have the same goal. We have the same goal to be va'ani kirvas elokim lito. It's good for me to cling to Hashem, and it's good for you to cling to Hashem. That's what we're all striving for. How can I cling to Hashem at as much as possible at all moments? But since the burdens that we carry are different, it's not possible that we shouldn't have different mediums to bring us to the tachlis, that bring us to the goal. It is impossible that those mediums don't change. You can have somebody who is doing any type of work. He can be cleaning out sewers, we'll call it. The guy smells from the sewers. You think he's got less of a path to clinging to Hashem than somebody else? Of course not. He's got a path just as much as anybody else. And that is just a metaphor of work. The same thing's true with our backgrounds. The same thing's true with our experiences. You think just because somebody, God forbid, has been abused, has had trauma, all of a sudden they're not capable of being close to Hashem like somebody else? It's just the opposite. As we say in Ashrei, Karev Hashem l'nish b'relev, Hashem's even closer. Hashem goes out of his way to come close to somebody who's got a broken heart. There's no experience in the world that is able to stand as an impediment in our goal of being close to Hashem. There's nothing that exists in the world for any of us that can stop this, any of us, from achieving this goal as long as we're breathing. Person who's got a low job, same as somebody sitting and learning Torah the entire day. Kolomar, meaning, what do we mean with this? Says the Bilvavi, we see very clearly from the words of Rav Moshe Chaim Lutzato, a person could be pious, v'davok b'kono, and cling and connected to his Creator. I could reach the highest levels of divine inspiration. And it doesn't matter what I spend my day involved in. In Torah Malacha, I'm involved in Torah, I'm involved in work, I'm involved in it. We're all the same. We all have the same. Nothing separating us from the goal, as long as Kol Ma'asav L'Shem Shemayim Be'emes. As long as all of our actions are L'Shem Shemayim Be'emes. V'Isaac B'Torah Kefika Chaysev Esbana. And we evolve ourselves in Torah as much as our capabilities are, as much as time allows, as much as our strength allows. When I go to work also, I'm clinging and being close to Hashem. Every person. This is not, we're not talking to people who are separated from physicality or above and beyond normal. No, we're talking to normal. We're talking to average. Average. This is what we're involved in. Every person has a path to achieve this goal. I'm going to mention something tangentially, which I think is important to bring up here just for clarity. When the Bilvavi is contrasting Torah learning and work. Okay? And he's using these words, higher and lower. Person got a lower job, a highest job of sitting and learning Torah the whole day. What does higher and lower mean? What does that mean? Higher and lower, we mistaken to mean at times to be more important and less important. Sometimes that's how we view it. Okay? Say if it's higher, it's more important. If it's lower, it's less important. Listen to this. I'm going to read you from a sefer that I started learning with some people. It's a book. It's actually written by Rav Aaron Lapiansky from Silver Spring, called Ben Torah for Life. Okay, it's anybody could gain tremendous amount from it, but it's written specific with the intention for young men who learned in yeshiva and have now gone out into the workforce. And he's explaining to them how their role has changed now that they've left yeshiva. In this book, he describes what it means when a person is sitting and learning Torah and somebody who's out, living life in a general fashion. I'll read not exactly word for word, but just to get over the idea. Does lower mean less valuable? When we talk about higher and lower, does it mean more valuable and less valuable? Obviously, if Hashem creates a person with lesser ability, limited options, difficult circumstances, does that mean that person at best can be second or third rate? Obviously not. If we think that a higher and lower means more important and less important, that is a terrible mistake in life. For example, here's the example he gives. A person wants to build a house. He goes to an architect. The architect designs the house that's going to fulfill the vision. Then you have an engineer who designs the columns and the beams to support the structure. The contractor analyzes the construction requirements and gives an estimate. The bank provides the financing. The construction crew builds the house and makes it a reality. If the purpose of this process is a finished building, then all of these steps are equally important. If you skip any of these steps, the house is falling down. It's not going to achieve its purpose. The engineer can't start by saying, I got a great support system. The building has to originate with the vision of the owner. Up and down, higher and lower, are positions in the flow line, not relative. It's not relative merit. It's just whether I'm higher or lower in the flow line of what Hashem's vision was. Okay? Hashem's vision was for what? For a human being to live in this house, to live in this world. A person may be sitting. Let's explain. Now I'm reading. I'm now outside of the book. Yeah. What does he mean by this? A person is sitting and learning Torah. Why? So that now that guidance and vision can flow along to the person who's out there in the world, interacting with others, going to work, trying to be honest, doing things in a way that's going to bring me closer to Hashem. How do I know how to do that? Because I look up in the flow line and I say, thank you. Thank God there's somebody sitting there, with the Das Torah, with the Torah knowledge that I could turn to know how do I come closer to HaKadosh Baruch. But the one out there doing it is actually the fulfillment of the whole vision. They're the one living in the house and doing everything. So higher or lower is not more important or less important. It's just different. We're at different stages of the flow line. That's what these words mean over here. Whether a person is on one stage of Hashem's vision, a next stage of Hashem's vision, another, no matter where we are holding in this, we all have this same goal which is to bring the owner's vision to completion. Hashem's vision, he's the owner, which is that a person should live in the world in a competent way. To end off this paragraph, Lamadnu imkain. Therefore, we see, it comes clear, a person first needs to know that the purpose of life and everything that we do can bring us closer to Hashem. And after that, Olav lios batuach, we need to be batuach, we need to be confident, shahadavarim amurim mamish klapov, that these words are mamish, opposite us. You know what I need to know? What I need to know is that I am fit, I am convinced that I am fully relevant to this concept. This concept of Kirvas Hashem is not for other people on this Zoom call. It's not for everybody else sitting around here. I have to know that this concept of Kirvas Hashem applies and is fully relevant to me. I am fit to live a life like this. I am qualified to live a life like this beyond any shadow of doubt. This is something that every single human being, no matter what our experiences are, no matter what has happened, no matter what our capabilities are, every single one of us has the ability to tap into this connection, to this relationship. And Be'ezras Hashem, with Hashem's help, next week we will continue on with paragraph 11. That's going to let us know that now that we know from chapter 10 that every single one of us is capable, how we should view ourselves and our own current set of circumstances in order to convince ourselves. It's so interesting that he's spending so much time, the Bilvavi is spending so much time to convince us to believe in ourselves. This is like his initial goal for like the beginning of the book. He's telling us what it's going to be, but he's letting us know there's a human ailment that exists. There's an ailment that exists inside of us where the Yetzer Hara is telling us that we're not shaykh to this. We're not connected to this. This is something that's for others. There's not something that's for me. So he's really focusing in and trying to drill this into our heads and letting us know that first and foremost, we have to know we are connected to this. We are shaykh to this. And he will continue doing that and bring us on to the next concept as well, Be'ezras Hashem, next week on Thursday night. Okay, if there's anybody here, I didn't see any chat. If there's anybody who'd like to share something, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, we'll log off in just a moment.